Hi, I'm Jason Meers, and this video is part of a series around business value, created in conjunction with Tor from VMware Advisory Services. And this particular video is around the value wheel.
The value wheel, in my mind, is a really brilliant way of synthesizing a lot of project work into one slide. And when we deal with decision makers, they usually need some decision criteria that doesn't go over 150 pages. I've been with customers where their decision criteria was, in fact, between 150 and 200 pages of details. And I do think all the details, they were very valuable, but I also think that the overview of saying, look, this is the bottom line, was also very valuable, because I think being able to express the bottom line and the decision criteria in one page is extremely valuable, because that would allow more people to consume what is it we're trying to do, and then decide whether they think it's a good idea to move into this project. So if we look at what we looked at so far, right? So we started, you can do the value chain, and you can look at the customer and say, okay, here's your headquarters, and here's your customer, and here's where it all starts. And you can have all those conversations about how do we improve you and all your projects. And you can also have the priority pyramid conversation and say, what are the overall goals of the organization, and how do we break these down through the different layers so that we know, okay, this here, X, Y, and Z, this is what we need to do in order for you as an organization to reach your goals. So you can basically look at it and say, I like to use the blue color, right? And say, well, we have a project here, and we have a project here, and we have a project here, and we have a project here. And they sort of correspond with the initiatives that are being described in the pyramid here and here, and also on the lower levels, where you can say, okay, we know all this is happening inside our customer, and then we know the customer has these goals, and the C-level focuses this way, and this is how the organization makes sure that they do things that meet all these goals. And then we have the great big challenge of, okay, we understand the customer, we understand how we can help them. How do we express that in one slide? And that's really where I see the value wheel being a very unique and very simple and direct and powerful way of describing, dear Mr. Customer, we've looked at what you do, we have given it some thoughts, and here's the project that we would like to suggest to you. So basically what you want to do is you want to have that big center console where you say, dear Mr. Supermarket, we want to help you be a better supermarket. And then we can say, by doing something, you know, as short and as punchy as possible in the center of the value wheel. What I like to do also is to have a heading saying something like reduce waste, increase sales, because that's what they want to do, right? That's some of the supermarket's goals. And then we say, and then there's also always the matter of the money. If you take the value wheel and put in the center of it, we want you to spend 10 million with us, and then you will make 300 million in 3 years. All they can see is center of message is spend 10 million. So that's not what we want to do. So what we want to do is we want to put up here something like expected ROI of 321% if you invest 10 million euros, you get a return of 321. Then you have sort of hidden the cost of it while making sure that you reiterate that there is a huge value for you, Mr. Customer, if you do this. So hidden is the wrong word. If you present it this way, you will have showed the customer that there is a cost associated with this project, but the cost is a lot less than the outcome that they're going to do if they do this project with us. So we know what you're doing, and there's a lot of benefits coming out of it. So when you then look at the wheel, then the next levels are, well, we're going to look at all these blue bubbles over here where we have identified, dear Mr. Customer, what can we do for you? So there are different ways of doing that. I like to include past value. And past value is, we used to do only IT for you, and that has helped you do so and so. Or your development team is so and so much faster because you have automation from us. So you can put things up here saying, dear Mr. Customer, you worked with us before and it was a success. We have established some credibility. Customers usually like that because it puts us in a position where they say, oh yeah, VMware, it's true. We have had a good cooperation so far. So let's listen to you. Then, since our friends are mostly inside the IT department, I like to put two bubbles here with IT benefits. And IT benefits can be a lot of things. So we like to talk about reduce the cost of ownership. So we can say, well, your physical hard drives today cost you so and so many millions, but you know, if you move to vSAN, you're going to only pay so and so much. So it will be a saving for you. And that's true. That does reduce the costs on the IT budget. But what is much more interesting would be something like, well, we can increase stability. Or we could reduce the number of tickets in the help desk, or we can help you reduce the number of hours where employees are sitting around because the hard drives crashed or ran full or so on. So vSAN is a good story, but the good story usually is, what do we do for the business, instead of saying, we can save you some money on the IT budget. But of course, both is interesting. So I like to say past value, which is often something IT related. Then I like to present a couple of IT benefits, and then we could do something that would talk about reducing risk or increasing stability, so on and so forth. And then there are all these bubbles over here that talk about business values, and those are really the very positive things to have in the value wheel. So we could say reduce supermarket operational cost by 50 million. Let's say we take the value of the procurement and the value of the reduced waste, and we say, dear Mr. Supermarket, by giving you this here flexible IT infrastructure and helping you doing these projects, we can help influence your business by 50 million euros. So that was the operational cost. The other thing is, you can increase sales through the customer loyalty app. And it's not us who are creating the app, but because we give them the infrastructure to do that, we enable that they get to this here better loyalty app faster. So if you're doing decision criteria, you can establish some kind of credibility by saying past value. We're talking into the people that we already know by mentioning IT benefits. So this is supporting the friendly people that we have inside the organization. And then you have 3 or 4 bubbles left over here where you can mention other things like reduce waste, increase sales, reduce the supermarket operational cost, increase stability of your packaging systems or your point of sales terminals or whatever it might be. Supermarkets or retailers or banks or hospitals, they all have a bunch of problems or challenges in common that we can address. And if you put it up like this in 7+1 simple bubbles, and you say, dear Mr. Customer, we analyzed the way you work. We looked at your strategic goals. This is in one slide how we can help you. Remember, the owners wanted to increase sales. That's addressed right here. They want to reduce costs. That was part of the CXO level. Well, you have that right here. And then you have all these bubbles down here. We want data center in a box. Well, dear Mr. Customer, we can help you build data center in a box, so that so you're going to meet some of the other goals. So the value wheel can represent in one single slide all the analysis work, all the conversations that you had with your customer in a very simple and powerful way. So that's really how I would use these three artifacts together when I build them with the account team and present them to the customer.
So that was the value wheel, a simple one-page document or one-page slide designed to be presented to a senior management team. In the next video, we're going to ask Tor to do a summary of all the three methods that we've covered, the value chain, the value pyramid, and the value wheel. In the next video, we'll also tell you how, if you're a VMware employee, you can have access to these kind of tools and people inside the organization, or if you're a VMware customer, how you can repeat this process through with your own organization with your VMware account manager.